Hello everyone, my name is MiniMacro Sound and welcome to the first part of the Ninja Gaiden as interpreted by MiniMacro Sound, developers playthrough and commentary. In this I'm going to be playing through the game and giving my thoughts about what the development of that part that I'm at was like or other thoughts about the game. So without further ado, let's continue. So what I set out to do with this project initially was I wanted to remake the first Ninja Gaiden game, obviously. The reason why is because I saw a lot of potential in the first Ninja Gaiden game. And, I thought, well, I think that this should be done in a sort of, retro throwback style, as that's what a lot of my favorite games are. For instance, the Blaster Master Zero series, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, that kind of thing. I love that, and I felt like it would be a good idea to both use this as my first solo game project, which is a goal that I've had for a while, as well as a way to to pay tribute to this game that really is not as good as I think it should be. Because frankly, I don't like Ninja Gaiden 1. I just don't think it's a very good game. It has great music, pretty good graphics for the time, very innovative, especially with the cutscenes, and everything about it is good except for the part where you have to play the game. The game is not good. It's full of cheap difficulty, respawning enemies, all that. We all know how the first Ninja Gaiden game is and all the issues with it, so I'm not going to delve too much into that. However, that's the reason why I decided to make the Ninja Gaiden as interpreted by MiniMacro Sound. So a little funny anecdote here. This wall, the reason that there's a hole here is because there was a glitch involving climbing through top solids. This is a top solid because you can jump through the bottom of it. And instead of fixing that glitch, because I'm a lazy person, I decided to just, never put it in the game. And that's why this hole is here. I believe it's over here that the secret, the time stopper is in this level. Because I did put a time stopper object in this level behind the HUD on one of these walls. I think it's this one. That's not it. I'm not going to worry about that. There's a time stopper in Act 4-2. You can just see it then. Obviously, if you played the game, you know what the time stopper is like. However, it's somewhere in the HUD. And I don't remember where it is, but it's there. So, the first boss, the way I made this game is I made all the levels first, and then the bosses. So once I finished Act 6-3, I started making all the bosses all the way back with this guy, Barbarian. And originally I was going to redraw all the sprites of the bosses from scratch, but the only one I ended up doing that for was Barbarian, and then I just kind of drew over the original sprites for the rest of the bosses. I'm not going to kill him yet, just to show you a cool technique that you can do with him. You don't actually need to duck to dodge that projectile. The hitbox is small on purpose. One is the first boss, so I don't really care if it's easy. Two, because, well, I like to give generous hitboxes. I think that a lot of times in games, hitboxes are too big, and so I try to make the hitboxes a bit smaller than you would think, just so you have a little extra leeway. The cutscenes were also the last thing I did, so I made the levels first, drew all of the graphics, made all the music, all that in order, Act 1-1 through Act 6-3. Then I made the bosses, and then I made the cutscenes, and the cutscenes are what we're seeing here. I do not know if I would have made the game in as short of a time as I did if the sequences feature in Game Maker Studio 2.3 did not exist. All of the movement you see, all of the sprite animations, all of that in the cutscenes is done through sequences in Game Maker Studio 2.3. Definitely a huge boon in my favor. For the graphics, originally I was planning to have planning to see if I could get one of my friends who's a better artist than me to redraw them all from scratch. But when I got there, I realized, hey, there's no reason to do that. They're good already. I just want to add more colors to them, make it seem more advanced. And that's what you're seeing here is the edited original cutscene graphics with basically more colors edited by me. This level has huge lag issues, and I don't know why. Like legitimately, I've done everything I've could to, or I've done everything I can to optimize this level. It's not even the biggest level in the game, but it's just this one that has big performance issues. And that was a bug I thought I had fixed in the early days of the project, when this was the most recent level I'd made, but that didn't turn out as I saw in some streams upon release. I also implemented the rails from Ninja Gaiden 3, and they kind of only appear in this level. As you can see, you can press it down, jump through them, just like in Ninja Gaiden 3. They work exactly like that. Only thing is, I only use them in this level. I guess because I thought they only would really fit in this level, but this is the only time the rails appear, and I don't really see an issue with that. I think it's a pretty neat gimmick. Um, Combos with the windmill shuriken are fun, and I specifically implemented the combo system with it so that you could score a lot of points by doing some sick combos. And my friend did a really nice one in this room that I actually put into the release trailer of the game because he killed like 10 enemies with one star. It was super neat. Let me see if I can get an awesome combo. I did not get an awesome combo. Also, there's no checkpoints in this level. The reason for that is because it wasn't long enough of a level to warrant one, in my opinion. And I mean, it's been months since I played this game, so cut me a little slack. Although to be fair, that was a pretty silly mistake. I guess while I'm here, I can talk about these construction enemies. So when I was making the levels, I realized that in the original Ninja Gaiden, there was a lot, and I mean a lot of enemy reuse between levels. And I figured that it would be neat to at least edit the enemies' sprites to make them more fitting for the level that they're in. So that's why I have these guys with the hammers. I have these construction workers that throw hammers. It's pretty basic, but I think it gives a bit more variety in the game than it otherwise would have. I do not know why there are dogs and bats in this level, but I kept them because, to be honest, with the levels, I wanted to keep them generally the same enemy set in terms of function. And I did not intentionally make these enemies function identically to the Guillotine Man enemies that start appearing in Act 5-1. I was just trying to give them a bit of variation from their counterparts in the first stage, the ones that throw knives. And I figured, hey, well, what if the hammer kind of boomeranged back to it? I didn't realize that was behavior that an enemy later in the game already had, but it made things easier when it came time to design level 5-1. Ooh, yes. The fire shield is a useful weapon. Alright, and we're at the end here. So now, Act 2-2. This has one of my favorite backgrounds in the game that I made. It has a lot of parallax layers, which I'm very proud of. And because anyone who knows, I'm disappointed in myself to say the least. Anyway, anyone who knows me will know that I love parallax. I'm a huge fan of parallax scrolling. It is a trick that I used in every single level of this game. And, well, this has some of my... I'm so sad right now. I didn't really plan this out at all, as you can probably tell by my less than good commentary, but, I was expecting to be a bit better, because we're only on Act 2-2. But anyway, the black ninjas, they have cool hats like the ninja from The Messenger, which is a game that really inspired me in the development of this one. They also have a bit of rudimentary AI. They will turn around at walls, but they will jump over pits. They don't detect the pits by themselves. I have a special object that I just put over pits for them to jump at. Because I was lazy. And as I've realized with an enemy I made for my current game project, it's not actually hard to make enemies detect pits to jump over them, but, well, this was a year ago when I made this level, so cut me some slack. Maybe like 11 months, but you get the... I forgot I had lives on. That's alright, you get to see the cool game over screen. I really like that game over Scream. It's simple, but it's very effective, in my opinion. Let me tell you, I never want to make a game that is 400 pixels wide ever again. It was kind of a pain to design around that wide of a screen. And here's my advice to future game developers: don't do that. You know, don't don't make your game this wide unless you're making the tiles bigger than 16 by 16 pixels. I did not do that, and so I suffered the consequences of deciding to make my game this wide. And my current game is 320 pixels wide, which is an improvement. The fly enemies are random. There's a fun fact for you. There we go. Alright. Boss time. This was a fun boss to make. I'm a huge fan of this kind of segmented chain effect that you can see with the chain to the sickle there. I'm really proud of that effect, and I even wrote the script to draw that completely by myself with no extra help, which I'm also very proud of. There are a lot of tiny things, effects, details in this game that I'm really proud of that you probably would not notice. For instance, the demon statue in the background here, it's edited from the PC Engine version of the game, but I think I did a good job at both reducing the colors and making it look good. This is a pretty imposing boss background, I think. I suppose it's kind of obligatory for me to sit through the cutscenes. I don't really want to watch them myself, if I'm being honest with you, but I think it's good to show them. This cutscene was the first of 3 cutscenes that were a big pain to make. And the reason I say that is because the way I got the Japanese text of these cutscenes, because the game has multiple languages. It has English, Spanish, Italian, French, Japanese, and Romanian. And the Japanese text, one uses a different character set, which was, to be fair, pretty easy because I just ripped that from the ROM. But it was a pain to extract the text from the original game because obviously 6502 assembly is not in Japanese. And so what I did was I went through a YouTube video of the game and I took screenshots of all of the Japanese text, and I put those screenshots into a program called Free OCR, Free Optical Character Recognition. It was a website that you can put in a picture of text, and it will generate a unique or a text file based off of the text from the image. Very helpful. The problem with that was that sometimes the text didn't get fully or it didn't get accurately recognized, and this led to me having to manually go through the text, copy paste Japanese characters, and well, put them in manually. That was a mistake because the thing with Japanese characters, they have little modifiers called dakuten, and these are little characters that look kind of like apostrophes that are on some characters that I believe change the pronunciation a bit. However, sometimes the OCR tool would recognize them, sometimes it would not. And So I had to go through and add that manually. And the second problem was that I made the font work in such a way that it was 8 by 8, and the Dakuten and Ninja Gaiden 1's font extend above that 8 by 8 character box. And so I had to have it draw two text boxes. One of them was completely blank, except for whichever characters had the Dakuten, and I used the left curly brace character in the code for that. Now I had to go through and add that manually at each of the spaces which had Dakuten, and if it was wrong, well, I would have to go fix it, and that was a huge pain. Basically, next time I make a game that has Japanese in it, I'm going to use just Japanese Unicode font instead of trying to do a custom 8 by 8 font, because that will be simpler. It also doesn't help that I don't know Japanese, so I have no idea if there are typos or anything. Oh, also, this stage has my favorite background, the one we just finished. So that's my little rant about Japanese characters. This stage has slopes in it for no reason other than I wanted to show off. And also I thought it helped it feel more mountainy, but I'm going to be real, I just wanted to show off. I didn't make the collision myself. I used a tutorial by an excellent programmer named Niccolo Favari. His tutorial for a Game Maker Studio 2.3 platformer engine that included slopes and moving platforms, all that good stuff, was instrumental in the development of this game, because without that, I may have had a less than good platforming engine. And I'm using the same engine for my current game project, just with a few edits, because there were some things that I did not do well in this game that I'm doing different, but I have to live with the mistakes of the past, and that's what this is all about. My big issue with a lot of Game Maker platformer tutorials is that they're very not hard-coded, but not really flexible, and that's something that was different about Nicholas's platformer tutorial, was that it was very, very flexible. I can do a lot of things differently with it, and I can reuse a lot of code in a way that is efficient as a programmer, and probably from a resources standpoint. But that's a different beast, and I can talk about that some other time. But basically, that was a great platformer tutorial. Go to nikles.it. That's nikles.it to see that tutorial, because it's incredibly helpful, and it's definitely one that I think is worth working on, or working from, for anyone seeking to make a platformer in Game Maker. This boss was fun to make, and is very hard-coded, because to jump the distance between these two tiles seems easy, but the problem is I'm not good at math, so I did not know the formula to, figuring out what y speed I should use to jump between two specific points. So I kind of just plugged in numbers until he jumped to the right places, and that was that. However, that results in there being an extremely gross y speed of, an extremely gross x speed of like 4.026 or something like that. It's gross, and I definitely am not doing it again that way. But, it's my mistake to make, and that's my lesson to learn. So, this cutscene originally used the song Devilish Influence, which, by all accounts, is a fantastic song. But I felt like it would be good to have a different song for this cutscene, so that song has more power when it's used for the boss later in the game that it plays in. So I wrote this original song, and it was a fun song to write. It's pretty melancholy, pretty emotional. And something about it is that I did not really intend to make the music sync up with how the cutscene plays out, but it does. You'll see this in a few moments. It's really nice. Look at that. That's chef's kiss. That's fantastic. How that syncs up so nicely. This cutscene, the one with Foster, was the second of the ones that was an absolute pain to make. because of having to transcribe all of the text by hand. And there's a lot of text in this cutscene. And the other thing I've not mentioned yet about how I made the cutscenes was that I opened up the original Ninja Gaiden in an emulator, FCUX, turn on frame advance mode, and I went through each frame manually, counted how long each event lasted, wrote down what happened on each individual cutscene. It was a pain, and that's something that I am glad I will never have to do again for a game because I won't need to be accurately recreating cutscenes. But yeah, and if you go to my GitHub, you can I have the game source code up on my GitHub. You can download that yourself, but you can look and see the text file I used that has all of the individual cutscene timings in it. This obviously it was a pain, but this cutscene especially was a pain because there's a lot of text. All the text does not last the same length of time originally. And you may be saying, well, MiniMacro sound, why don't you just kind of eyeball the cutscenes? Well, a lot of the music in the game is written to last exactly as long as the cutscenes, and I'm not about to rewrite the music because the music in the original game is very good. And, I think I would rather respect the original intent of the developers because frankly the cutscenes are not one of the problems with Ninja Gaiden 1. There are many other problems, the cutscenes are not one, so I wanted to be as faithful as possible with that so that A, I did not have to change the music, and B, so that I could, keep the cutscenes as good as they were originally. I'm just rambling at this point. The point is, recreating the cutscenes by hand, frame by frame in an emulator is a pain. I hated doing it, but I had to do it in order to make the game. And I did have some friends assist me with doing certain cutscenes. Actually, this cutscene was done by a friend, but it was manually timed out by a friend. I appreciate him greatly for that, but I still did the majority of them myself. And I get to complain. It's my game. There were also a few lines of text in the game that I rewrote myself because they sounded weird or they were, not well translated or anything. However, in doing that, I realized that the original game actually, despite a few awkward grammar moments, is localized very well, really surprisingly well for the time. That's something I didn't really think about before, but yes, Ninja Gaiden 1 is localized very well in general, especially for, 1988. So the song in this level is I don't remember the name of it, but or rugged terrain, yeah, is what it's called in the original game, and it kind of it's pretty alright, but it doesn't really do anything. And so basically, what I did for this version of it is I added a new melody. Come on, is I added a new melody on top. That's pretty much all I did. But my friend Cosmic Gem said that this is actually his favorite song in the game. So, I guess I did good. You can see some more fun parallax, especially on the water. But I want to point out the trees in the background. I'm very proud of those sprites. It took me a while to make, but I think they look super nice. And the other thing I want to mention with not this level, with the music in this game is that, yes, I did make a different song for each level. And if levels shared music, which many of them did in the original game, I made a new remix of that song for the level, so that there's some variety across the game. I think it worked out well because there are a lot of cool musical moments I did with having to make different sounding versions of the same song. This is especially evident in the PC Engine version of the soundtrack, which you can unlock after beating the game once. You can play with the PC Engine, the soundtrack from the PC Engine port of Ninja Gaiden 1, and I have a lot of issues with that soundtrack that I'm sure I've talked about before, but I got to do many remixes of the songs in that one. And a big thing with the PC Engine soundtrack is that it reuses the songs in the same way, but a lot of the songs are written for cutscenes more so than levels, and so you have really short songs playing in cuts in levels, and that was something that I fixed. I remixed those songs in a way that would fit the level more, that was not ridiculously short. Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty cool. If you've already beat this game, try playing it with the PC Engine soundtrack. I think I did a pretty good job with that. This was a really fun cutscene to do because it was fun to make it look really pretty, I really like the cool inverse parallax thing I have going that makes it look like it's like a camera rotating around an area instead of just scrolling over. I'm really happy with that. And this level is the famous one because it has this song in it, Unbreakable Determination. That is probably the song that everyone knows from Ninja Gaiden 1. It's a really good song, to be fair. It's very obviously the best song in the game. I hope I did it justice with this remix. Anyway, here's a time slow. It makes the background purple, and it makes the enemies purple, and it freezes them. There are only 2 in the game, and to be honest with you, I really didn't need to implement it at all, but I did. And so there's the one that I already mentioned, hidden in the HUD in Act 1. Come on. There's the one I already mentioned, hidden in the HUD of Act 1-1, and there's that one right there. I believe there's 3 of them in total in the original game, so it's not like it got much use there either, but I think it's a fun little thing where it's like, oh hey, cool power-up, and it exists for 5 seconds and then you're good. However, I do like the clock icon that I've made here. I think it looks appropriately fancy. Alright, we're going to do the gamer strategy. And by the gamer strategy, I mean not get the spin slash. Here's another fun fact. This tile set was actually the first one that I ever made for the game. This area out here with the background, the clouds, and the bricks. This was the first one I made for the game, and I felt like it would be cool to make this level take place at night rather than at day. And now that I say that, I realize that, well, that doesn't exactly match up with the cutscenes, but that's okay. You know why? It looks cool, and that's all that matters. But this tile set was the one I used in my debugging room for when I was coding enemies and stuff. So that was actually the first asset I made for the game when I was trying to establish a visual style of the tile sets. Because as you know, I've been doing tile sets for far longer than I have any other kinds of graphics. And so that's always kind of the first thing I do with the game is I make an example tile set to kind of set the stage for what I want the game to look like. This goes for every game I've made where I'm making the graphics. This level faced a lot of contention in testing for being very long and requiring you to do a move that is kind of tricky to pull off. I don't think it's tricky to pull off, but, well, that's not my place to decide. Basically, you kind of jump off without moving forward, and then you slash in midair. That's the move, and this level and numerous others in the game require you to do that, because I thought it was an easy move to pull off. It wasn't actually, so I added a few more weapons and stuff to kind of assist people who had trouble doing that in the game. This gimmick was fun to make. I enjoyed making this level a sort of puzzle level. I don't know why, I don't know where the idea came from. It's not from anywhere in Ninja Gaiden, there's nothing like it, but I think it fits the level well. Numerous people have asked me, hey MiniMacro Sound, is it possible to beat this level within the time limit? Yes, it is. I give you 210 seconds in this level. Here's a fun fact. I only recently figured out why that bug happens, where if you are pressing jump on the ground at the same time you get hit, then your knockback becomes way higher. I only recently figured that out in the production of my current game project when I kind of rewrote the knockback system from scratch, and a similar thing happened, and only then did I figure out why. To be clear, I'm not going to fix it in this game at all, because I don't want to put out another update. Because I'm lazy. Yeah, I just want to be done with this project. These statues, I'm also very proud of them. I think they look very nice. In the original game, there are statues in the background, but they are only 32 by 48 pixels in size. They're very small, and you can barely see them. So I decided to give them more of a presence because, you know, demonic statues fit the game very well, given that you're fighting a demon and all that. This is an example of a song that was originally really short, and so I added an original melody to it, kind of extend it. I'm sure if you know the original game's soundtrack, you know this song. Well, this is like that, but cooler. And you need to be that platform needs to be pretty much all the way extended to be able to jump off of it. Oh yeah, fun boss. This boss is super easy. You can kind of just hang out here. I have no qualms with it being easy. That was a huge level. That level represented a huge step up in difficulty in the game, I think. So I'm fine with this boss being relatively easy, especially because it has the gimmick of, well, wow, two things you have to hit. I think that's fun. The thing in the background is another thing that I edited from the PC Engine version. I'm not sure what it is. All I know is that it looks really cool. Oh, and now he's evil. That top solid glitch happens in the original game too. I don't know why that happens, but it does. Anyway, I spent too much time talking during the developer's playthrough. Now I have to spend more time doing. The way I compensated for easy bosses in this game was I gave them a ton of contact damage and I gave their projectiles a ton of damage. My mentality with that was, well, if it's easy, that means it's easy to avoid, so you should be able to avoid this pretty regularly. Whether that's a good design philosophy or not, I still do not know, but only one person complained about it, and that was for a specific boss, so I'm fine with it. Game design is fake anyway. Want a real hot take? Game design is fake and for nerds. Here's another fun fact. The shader that I use for recoloring sprites in this game does not work on every computer. And most of the time in the game, that didn't really matter. For instance, fading between levels, for instance, recoloring enemy sprites that were, if I wanted to give them a recolor. Problem came with cutscenes where I needed to have things fade in, like just the thing itself fade in. So all of the color fades here are actually individual sprites, and they don't use the shader at all. This is for maximum shader accuracy during the cutscene, so that if you don't have shaders on, then you can still see them as intended. I also probably increased the file size a lot, but hey, it's a small game anyway. I think it's fine. This cutscene was fun to make. The first song in it was especially fun because I took some cues, much like many other songs in this version. I took some cues from the Super Nintendo port, Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, which added extra melodies and musical things in it. There were a lot of songs I did not do that for, but I did that for this song, the first level theme, and a few others in the game. because as much as I hate Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, I think it did a few things right. One of those things being some parts of the music. This level is fine, I guess. I want to talk about the music in it again. Wow, I'm talking about music a lot, huh? It's almost as if I like music. Anyway, this level's song has almost nothing to do with the original song. I mean, it has all the melodies and stuff, but it is heavily remixed to the point where people have told me they couldn't even tell it was the original song. I'm fine with that because I really like what I did in this song. I often find myself listening to this the most out of any other songs in the game. I'm just especially proud of it. Also, there's no weapons or anything in this level. You get just your sword for this. Have fun. The idea was that why would Jacchio's fortress's basement have a... Damn it. Why would the basement of Jacchio's fortress have power-ups and stuff in it? That doesn't really make sense from a world-building perspective. And while I realized that that doesn't matter and I can just shrug it off and say it's for gameplay purposes, I also thought it would be a fun sort of gimmick, given that there are no gimmicks otherwise in this stage. Ninja Gaiden 1 is a game that lacks gimmicks, and I tried where I could to add my own, but there are some stages where I just could not think of anything. This one is an example of that. And to be clear, everything in the game is entirely doable, no damage. I just damage boost a lot because I want to get through this fast. This is a game that requires you to pay attention to what's going on in the original. And while a lot of the time that means they throw stuff at you that you have less than a second to react to, in this game it means I throw stuff at you, but you should be able to see it coming from a mile away. And if you don't, if you don't account for that, that's on you. And we're out. This level is another one that caused a lot of contention among playtesters for the length, and only about halfway through making the final stage of the game, during a testing session, one of my testers got super frustrated at this game, or at this level, and so at that point I decided, hey, I'm going to actually add a checkpoint into it, or another checkpoint, because there was only one checkpoint. I thought it was reasonable, but, that's the point of having testers. Here's another fun fact. Those waterfalls in the background don't use animated tiles, they're just drawing a sprite because I was too lazy to make an animated tile system. And you may be saying, well, MiniMacro Sound, Game Maker Studio 2 includes animated tiles in it. Why would you need to make a new system for it? The reason for that is because pausing. You cannot change the speed of animated tiles in Game Maker Studio 2 at runtime. And this was something I would have liked to do so that the world looks more paused, and so that's why these are just sprites instead of actual animated tiles. And given that this is the only level in the game that actually has animated tiles, I thought it was fine to just not worry about making an animated tiles system. I should probably make one of those eventually. Also, here's the checkpoint. Here's the secret technique. Slash in midair, you can kill that enemy easy. I believe there are still some things in this that people have not figured out exactly how I intended to do them, how I intended them to be done. Here's another example of that. This level's full of them. So as you can see, you have these two things. You can just walk off the edge, slash, and you will make it. You will kill those enemies. As much as I don't like backseating, especially not during testing, I think that there were a few times in testing where I just kind of had to tell people. Now you may be saying, well, MiniMacro Sound, that's bad practice. Yeah, I know. I don't care. This level, I think, should have a lot of emotional depth to it, which sounds like a buzzword, but it has a song that is kind of, it's a song that is a recurring theme in the game. And by recurring theme, I mean it's reused in a cutscene, but I think that this song is is like especially important to the game. So I wanted this level to have the same emotional depth that this song does. And in fact, in the cutscene version of this song, I straight up just edited the level version to be a bit shorter and not have the second section. Shut up. So if you fall off the platform to the left there's a little extra score thing that you can get on a platform at the cost of your life. But if you do fall off to the left here, then you can get a little extra points. Man, I'm just not winning today, am I? Alright, there we go. It was only about halfway into making the levels, I think, where I actually realized that I should probably limit the ammo to 99, or the info to 99, just so that it doesn't overflow the counter and look weird. And by overflow, I mean get to more than 2 digits. You know how it is. Alright, nice. Fun little bonus over here. If you go over here, you can get a windmill shuriken. Why did I do that? Alright, we're good. Here's a fun thing. I didn't want to make spikes, but I wanted something that sort of, that was sort of similar to them. So I just kind of made this pit filled with enemies. This happens in this level and in Act 6-3. I think it's funny, and it's really easy to not fall in there, so it's alright. Alright, this has a lot to talk about. So, boss here, Bloody Malth. This song, he gets his own cutscene theme for when he appears, but just uses the regular boss theme. There are 2 reasons why I disliked this. The first is that, well, it's a great song. The second is that it's actually a remix of the first. It's actually a remix of the first opening theme, because Malth is the ninja that killed Ryu Hayabus's father. Well, not killed, but you know what I mean. Malth is that ninja in the opening cutscene. So I felt this song should be, given more importance. I'm gonna pause to collect my thoughts here. So the other thing with that song is that it kind of has the first really strong orchestral-ish opening melody, and then it goes into what really sounds like a boss fight theme. So I decided to split it into 2 halves, use the first part for the cutscene and use the second half for the boss fight theme. That is what you're hearing. The challenge with this boss was to make a boss that did not walk. The reason why is because I did not want to animate a walk cycle for him. So he just kind of... He does not move, and you have to avoid all of his attacks by moving around yourself, and you have to go up to him. This, I think, was a good decision because it's a really unique boss fight, and I had a lot of people tell me this was their favorite fight of the game. Also, he punches you if you get too close. Let's see if we can do this. Alright, that's fine. On release day, I also had a lot of people think that he was impossible. He is not impossible. I wouldn't make an impossible boss. There we go. I wouldn't make an impossible boss. What I will make is a hard boss. And that's exactly what I did. That little silence there where there's no music playing, I think I added that myself because I thought it would be a cool kind of, you know, twist on the, he's like, oh, I didn't kill your father, that whole thing. I thought it would be cool to start the music right then. The other thing with this cutscene is that originally, it's not as dark, but I thought that it would look way cooler if Ryu was, shadowed like that. Here's a fun thing. Look at the floor. There's an awesome reflection of Ryu. I'm very proud of that effect. So the thing with this level is in the original game, it is just a huge enemy spam getting from, that end of the like outdoor fortress bridge area to getting to the inside. It is just like a wall of enemies spam. That sucks. I think this level needs to be very atmospheric. That's what I tried to do with this level. That's why I made it be pretty much completely dark except for the moon in the background. That's why I made the reflection on the floor, all that kind of stuff. I'm very happy with that. I think it provides a really neat effect. I'm about to show you something that I'm not sure how many people know about. Some free ninpo down there for you if you decide to go down that hole. Probably more obvious than I think it is because I had a lot of people try to go down that hole and get killed until they were like, hey, maybe you shouldn't get killed. And that's a fair point, so I decided to add something down there as a little bonus in case you go down that hole. Anyway, this level has my favorite song in the game, and it's also my favorite level in the game. The reason for that is because I like seeing how long it takes people to figure out the gimmick of it. It usually takes them a few tries, and one streamer took like 8 minutes to figure it out. I'll just show you the gimmick here. If you touch that thing in the background, then it loops you. And it works way better if you don't like specifically try to jump in it. It looks way cooler, but And most people do, and they're really confused. They're like, oh, why is the background looping? Or why is the level looping? Because, you touch the awesome spot. And it's always fun to see how long it takes them to notice the flashing rectangle in the background that, flashes when they go past it. Sorry, I just had to be quiet for that part of the song because it is so good. That's like some of my best music ever. The return of these statues, as you can see. The other thing with this level is there's very little ninpo and very little weapons, so if you die, you're kind of out of luck. That's all right. It's a hard level. It's the second to last level in the game. I think that it's reasonable to, make it challenging. Don't worry, that's a checkpoint right there, by the way. As you're about to see. That's disappointing now I don't have my awesome weapon. That's alright. I'm not doing too well tonight, am I? That's alright. I think this will be the run. There we go. I do not want to get owned, so I'm going to avoid that. The background in this part is black, and earlier in the looping room, the background is just the gradient so that I didn't have to. Come on. The background here is black, as I was saying, because I didn't want to have to fix the parallax offsets whenever you looped, because it would be different and it would totally ruin the effect, so I elected to just not have to worry about that, cover up the background. Once again, you gotta be kidding me. Alright, that's fine. Whatever. I don't care. We're gonna do it right this time. And so yeah, you'd see here the background is just the gradient. That's so that I don't have to fix parallax offsets. Because as I was saying, I am a quality game developer. I'm a quality game player as well, as it turns out. This is about to be a very unexciting part of the developer's commentary because I have already said everything I need to about this part, and it's just going to be me playing. So kind of skip ahead if you want to, if you care more about what I'm saying than what I'm playing, which if you're watching this video, you probably do. That's fine. I wasn't using the shurikens anyway because I can do this buster. I can do this sword only. Here's a silly little thing you can do. that was pathetic, frankly. I apologize. Because as I said, I didn't really plan this whole developer commentary thing out. I was just like, hey, what if I recorded this? It would be fun, I think. And then as it turns out, I'm bad at live commentary. I'm bad at on-the-spot commentary. So you get to sit through another like hour and a half long video of almost nothing entertaining. We're doing great. Come on. Alright, it's also been like quite a while since I played this game because I've been, focusing on my other game and also college, so it's been a while. At the same time, that's no excuse for what is frankly pathetic gameplay. I'm just doing horrible here. That's okay. Think of it as a podcast. Here's a fun fact. If you were to fall down the pit on that last pillar there, you used to be able to skip like half the level because of checkpoint-related shenanigans, because that room is right above the checkpoint. Not right above the checkpoint, but it's a good few screens above the checkpoint. And due to how moving platforms work, your dead body would continue to be moved. It would be continue to be moved down until you reach the checkpoint. I fixed that by adding a solid to prevent the pillar from falling all the way down. I probably should have just made it so that, your dead body cannot be moved by platforms, but, well, a lesson for the future, I suppose. Today I released the soundtrack of this game on Bandcamp. That was an incredibly tedious process because I had to go through and name all the songs properly, give them the right track titles, all of that business. And I did not enjoy doing that, to say the least. However, there's a very useful tool called MP3 tag that allows you to, batch, do all that stuff to audio files. That saved my life when making the soundtrack release. All right, finally, we're in the last room. Awesome. All right, this level is the longest in the game. It's also the final level, so that's okay. The wind gimmick is back. Also, this is an original song. It has no relation to any of the other music in the game. I just thought it would be neat if the final level had a sort of Castlevania-y vibe to the music. Try to make it sound like a harpsichord, because if you know me, you know that I love, love, love Baroque music. That is my absolute favorite style of music. Damn it. So that's what I tried to do with this. Does it fit the game? I think it fits this iteration of the game. I think that Ninja Gaiden as a whole, it doesn't really fit, but that's okay. The gimmick of these levels is you have to kill the orbs and the demon statues, and then you're allowed to progress. Also, the bisexual lighting in the background of this level is definitely on purpose. Like, that is 100% intentional. I thought that would be neat. Also, it's a cool color scheme. Let's just be real here. Here's another fun fact. That little bit we just heard in the song, that is actually taken from another original song that was for a different game project. You may hear that song again one day, and by that I mean this is me just blatantly telling you that I am using that song in my current game project. Let's see if you catch the reference. I'm always a big fan of the whole level where it's like a bunch of different branching paths, and you have to, go do a thing in each path before you're able to, progress all the way through the level. Awesome. That's okay. I'm a nice person, and so I made it save your progress, so that you don't have to redo everything the level. I think the biggest thing I always keep in mind during doing game design is that if I would get frustrated at it, then I'm not going to put it in the game, because people who know me know that I'm a person who's very easily frustrated at video games. So, if I'm getting frustrated at it, then it probably is not like too hard, but it is harder than I would like it to be. And I want my games to be fun for everyone to enjoy, even if you're not a skilled gamer. All right, let's see if I can do the cool tech here. Awesome. Originally, I was just gonna name this song just like Sonata in D minor or something like that, but then I people might think that's too pretentious, so I decided to call it the Dragon Ninja instead, and I think is actually a way cooler name, because Ryu is the Dragon Ninja. Why did I do that? I don't know, but that's okay. Watch this. I killed the crystal, now I don't have to do that again. Gaming. There's a lot of weird, slightly janky behavior in this game. I think that's all right. You know, my next game, my current game, is much better about that. But I think it was, you know, this game was a big learning exercise for me. This room is funny. I'd be ready for it. Awesome. Also, you get 666 seconds in this level on the timer when you start it. Do you get the joke? Do you get it? It's really funny. Alright, cool. We basically beat the game. I'm about to dominate it. These bosses, just you watch. But first, we have to have a cool, dramatic hallway. I guess vertical climb. I was getting pretty tired by the end of this. By around this point in making the cutscenes, as you can imagine, you know, this is basically the end of the game. But I held on, obviously, because you can play the game now. But this was definitely when I was starting to lose a lot of motivation. The biggest thing that kept me going during this was that I would have a game to my name. Even if it is a fan game, it's cool to be able to say, hey, I released a game that I made entirely myself, solo, because that's been a goal of mine for many, many years, and I am very proud of the fact that I managed to do it. Also, the fire animation in the Masked Devil's eyes is really cool, I think. That's another little tiny detail I'm very proud of. What I was talking about earlier with the Ninja Gaiden trilogy references in the music, this song has a cool swing in it. That's what that is with this song. You just saw an awesome glitch. I do not know I do not know the reason why that happens, where he just does not stop slashing. Normally he's just supposed to slash twice and then continue, but sometimes that doesn't happen. I'm very glad that that happened on camera the first attempt. The gimmick in the original is just that you have to kill the thing in the middle, but I thought it would be neat. Well, you have to kill the thing in the middle. Also, the Masked Devil, you know, has a bunch of fireballs that swing around him at all times. I thought it would be cooler if the fireballs instead surrounded him like a shield, and you just had to, kill that or you had to kill the fireballs before you were able to kill the thing in the middle. I think that was a fun way to change up the fight. As you're about to see in the Jacquio fight coming up, spoilers. As you're about to see, there's a cool effect where the screen becomes all pixelated and stuff. You may be saying, wow, MiniMacro sound, that's some awesome shader usage, and you would be wrong. There are no shaders used for that effect at all. Instead, what it is a surface resize. I'm resizing the application surface to be lower resolution, then increasing its resolution back to 400 by 240 pixels as I go. You'll see it looks really cool. That also looks really cool. Check out this. Every time you hit him. Isn't that sick? That's awesome. I didn't want to just make the screen flash because that would be seizure inducing for some people probably. My goal is not to give you visual pain. My goal is to make you think, wow, that's an awesome effect. Speaking of awesome effects, we're about to see another one that is also accomplished entirely without shaders. Watch that. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? And you can't see it on the video because it's 30 FPS, but it alternates whether he's like waving back and forth horizontally or vertically. It's super cool. I know I'm tooting my own horn a lot here. I'm just very proud of what I made. Oh, come on, I'm not going to die. Oh yeah. I guess I am going to die. Awesome. Cool, that gives me an opportunity to show you the secret strategy for this guy that many people do not do. Let's come down, yeah. Come on. I am just dying. I'm doing so bad. It's always on camera when I do horribly. That's alright. This is taking way longer than it usually takes me to beat Jakido. Probably because, I'm trying to think of commentary and stuff. Sorry I don't have a lot to say. I guess the demon statue in the background is cool. I did not draw that by hand, as anyone who's played the original knows, but what I did do is I took the outline of it and I reshaded it by hand. And that was really my first foray into more like organic looking pixel art. So I'm proud of how that happened. The Jakido sprite is also another example of that. Watch this cutscene. The reason I say that is because I think I think this cutscene looks nice visually. The new stuff in it does, at least. And I think that in general, it's a well-made cutscene. I came up with that myself. It's very cool. You may be saying, wow, MiniMacro sound, where did you get that scream? That is my friend C-Sketch. He made a bunch of demonic noises into a microphone one time. Wow, check that out. That's all of the previous boss's attacks. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I know, it's cool. Thanks for the compliment. Pay attention to the timer. Every time. Yeah, just pay attention to the timer. Look at that, it changed. Isn't that sick? Also that, I'm doing awesome. That bouncing fireball effect, or attack, I added that 15 minutes before I released the game. I should have added it sooner, considering that all of my testers had been telling me for months beforehand that that there should be another attack there. A lesson in listening to your testers, and I'm glad that the attack ended up working out, but, don't add major things to your game 15 minutes before release, I suppose, is the lesson there. There's also a lot of blind spots in this boss. I think that's okay. Alright, and we beat the game. So now I get to watch the ending, which I spent a very long time making. There's so many sprites in the ending, there's so many songs in the ending, there are so many sequences in the ending, all that stuff I had to do a lot of for the ending. I think it turned out well, personally. So I beat the game in about an hour and 10, an hour and 11 minutes. That's pretty good. This is actually my first playthrough of the final build of the game. I did not, I did not play through the game before release. Like once I, you know, was ready to release, I didn't actually play through the release candidate of the game because I was pretty confident everything worked, and it did. But I probably should have. That's fine. Originally, in the original game, the entire screen shook, and I thought that would cause motion sickness for people, so I decided to make just the castle shake. Um, yeah, that's just a little anecdote. Cool, rotating parallax again. Check out that. Isn't that sick? It is sick. There's a playthrough of this game on YouTube that of my game that they had like terrible performance issues, so like all of the ending music ended way before the cutscene was supposed to end. Um, that was kind of funny, but also annoying. I probably did not optimize this game as well as I should have, but I also don't know like what the specifics of people's computers are and stuff. So I probably could spend a lot more time optimizing, but I think that's all right. I think it ran well for most people. I hope it did at least. I tried to include some I tried to include some options you could turn on if there was performance issues, for instance, the shaders. But well, that's up to you. One thing I did not do, though, in my current game that I did in this game was I'm constantly drawing the application surface with the palette shader on at all times, um, because I don't know, I thought that that would be better for if I needed to fade suddenly, but I could have just disabled the shader if the fade index um, was not zero, or was not zero. I could have disabled the shader fade index if. What am I saying? I'm so sorry. I could have not turned on the shader if the fade index was not zero. I can talk good. I promise. I know English good, all that kind of stuff. This cutscene, no, this ending sequence for the credits was fun to make. One, because I'm a very self-centered person, and I was like, haha, isn't it cool that MiniMacro sound isn't like all of the credits? But also it was just fun because I ended up syncing it with the music. Um, with the music, the PC Engine version of the game actually has a completely new song for the credits instead of reusing Unbreakable Determination, and that's what this is a remix of that you're hearing right now, actually, because it's a really good song. It's one of the songs in the PC Engine version that I think needs no changes. It was originally really good. Shoutouts to Big Fish. He was instrumental in, making this game. He was instrumental in helping me make this game play well. He's a very skilled game designer. Shoutouts to those guys. He sketched did Spanish, Noibs did Italian, Doomman did Romanian, Heel Navi did French. Those guys translated for me. Again, I appreciate y'all so much. Yeah. Isn't that cool? Now it goes into Unbreakable Determination, when it's the original staff. Isn't that awesome? That's awesome. Very happy with that. I tried to use as much of the actual names of the original developers as I could here. There were some that I could not find information on, such as Kevin, such as Thaw, but, well. And there's me. And now you're forced to wait here until you reset or close the game. So I just want to finish off here by saying thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my lackluster commentary, and I hope you enjoyed the games. Keep playing my games. I am happy to keep making them. I enjoy making them a lot. I just hope that you are happy to keep playing them, and I hope you are enjoying them a lot. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.